Let's sum up his loan spell as a whole, Marcus Arnott at Derby County, because two different managers, and as you said, John Eustace sort of changed him in his position. Overall, he played 41 games, which is playing week in week out for Derby. He scored 4 goals, 3 assists. Obviously, got sort of nominated for Player of the Month in March because he obviously scored 3 important goals in that spell. And obviously, you guys stayed up. How would you sum up as a whole and his positions he played?
Well, like I said, in midfield under Paul Warne, he looked lost, but then the rest of the team did. So I don't know how much you can solely put on him for that. He again, he looked out of his depth in that position, but Eustace came in and played him either as I guess an auxiliary number 9 in a front 2 with Jerry Yates, or sometimes in a front 3 in a 3-4-3, and he'd stretch the pitch, he'd make runs wide, he'd get into the box, he'd create chances, and that's how we ended up winning a lot of points. I mean, Plymouth away is a perfect example. Twice he got himself in that box in counter-attacking situations, and twice he put the ball in the back of the net, and that was what he was missing. He wanted to play on the shoulder, he wanted to make runs, he wanted to stretch the pitch, he wanted to pull centre-backs into wide positions, and he couldn't do it. And then he moved into that forward position, and suddenly he could, and he struck up a good partnership with Jerry Yates, probably weirdly more defensively than going forwards. The two of them pressed really, really well as part of that front 2, and it was difficult. We were in a real rot. We'd lost 8 games in a row. We were nearing a club record. Warne got sacked, and Harness came off the bench at Norwich away. We didn't have a manager. We had a goal disallowed that shouldn't have been disallowed, which seems to be a running theme with us playing Norwich at the minute. And last minute, Harness runs into the box, takes a boot to the face, is really brave, wins us the penalty, and we finally end that losing run. And that was a huge moment, a really big moment for Derby. And he kept coming on and playing that role, and then he suddenly started starting games under John Eustace. And in that first game that we won to end the 1,000-year run without a win against Blackburn, he looked brilliant. And he continued that form on for the majority of the season. His set pieces were very good as well, which surprised me because he didn't take them at all under Warne, and he started taking corners. And if you've watched Derby at all, corners and long throws are where we shine, and he certainly helped with that.
That's good, and obviously when we spoke in the first half of the season, it wasn't great, and it sounds like he's had a good second half this season. So, what's the sort of mood with the fans with Derby? Obviously, he's out of contract this summer, but he does have an option, which I think Town would trigger, and obviously want to sell him for a little bit of a fee. I don't know what his future holds at Town. It most likely will be leaving the club. Would Derby fans like him back on a permanent, or do you think he will be ending up somewhere else?
To be honest, I think he'll be going elsewhere. I don't think Derby will take him back on a permanent deal, for the simple reason that I think he made an impact and he did a job that we needed him to do. But going forwards, I don't know if he's the right player. Like I mentioned earlier, his touch is quite loose at times. He's got a bit of tunnel vision, and I think he's a great player to bring off the bench. A really good player to bring off the bench. He might create something, he might do something, he'll stretch, he'll work hard, he'll run, but for this Derby team going forwards, I'm not sure he's what Eustace will want. Eustace has primarily played a back 4, and he's ended up playing a 4-2-3-1. I don't think Harness would fit in that sort of system. I think Eustace will want to bring in his own players, but that doesn't diminish the achievement that he's had here. You don't pick up the name Har9 for no reason. That game against Plymouth, where he really stepped up, and against Coventry as well. I know he's a Coventry fan, and he didn't look like it that day because he played an absolute blinder. Coventry won, I think, 9 in a row, or 9 in 10 or something like that. And Harness was a real key part in winning that game, and he scored a really good goal as well. So, yeah, he's certainly played a massive part. But I think going forwards, he's one of those where we'll look back and go, oh, he did a good job for us, but I don't think he's one for the future.